Here we are, finally taking on the subterranean Bab of Sponge. I was hoping to take care of this show until I was at least 10 reviews in, but I figured that'd be a bit too arbitrary, and that it's better to just say something when I think it needs to be said. Anyway, SpongeBob needs no introduction. It's easily the single most popular cartoon of the century so far. Even during its low point, people were still hearing and talking about it. And I'm sure long after its inevitable conclusion, its influence will remain as strong as ever. That said, I was still hesitant to go after this show, not nearly as much as I am with Family Guy, but that's another story. Because I don't want to come off as all the other dumbfucks who take this show way more seriously than they need to. Well, that, and much of this show has been dissected several times over in the last decade alone. So I'm going to try and go after the episodes that have been mostly left as they are. And this time, I'll be covering the Season 4 episode, All That Glitters, which is a rather notorious in its own right. This episode starts out at the Krusty Krab, where a customer orders a special item called a Master Krabby Patty, which apparently no one's ordered in forever. The mere announcement of this fact is enough to frighten the entire restaurant. Well, except Squidward anyway. SpongeBob tries to flip the thing, but it's a bit too heavy, and his spatula gets split in half. And we're treated to 40 seconds of SpongeBob crying about it. It's a bit amusing, but 40 seconds? Really, guys? I might sound like I'm nitpicking, but that's a longer time than it sounds. SpongeBob's spatula is shipped out to the hospital, and Mr. Krabs tells him to get back to work.
Work? How can I go back to work without spat?
Use another spatula.
What? There is only one spatula for me, and that is spat. Spat! Wait up! Spat! I'm coming.
Gotta love how Mr. Krabs isn't even surprised by SpongeBob's ways anymore. SpongeBob visits his spatula in the hospital, and we're shown a montage of all the memories SpongeBob has of him, and Spat's good times, set to a song that is definitely not Can't Smile Without You. Wow, you'd think he'd take better care of a cooking tool by not using it as a back scratcher or sticking it under the couch. Kinda making me reconsider wanting to try Krabby Patty there, Sponge Boy me Bab. Okay, hold the fuck up. You mean to tell me that he's willing to get into a sword fight with a pirate using spat, meanwhile he has an emotional meltdown over it getting broken? Wouldn't he want to keep it in good condition then? Like, I get that this particular part is supposed to come out of nowhere and the fight scene itself is pretty cool, but it does create a bit of a plot hole. Just saying. A doctor comes over and tells SpongeBob that he should give consideration to a replacement spatula.
Go home, get some rest. We'll try to do everything we can.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, I'm not a doctor. I'm an actor researching for a role. Yes! Woohoo! I am so totally gonna get this part.
Okay, now I'm curious as to how many patients he faked out on all day. That malpractice lawsuit should be a fun one. SpongeBob despondently leaves the hospital and contemplates how he'll get a new spatula.
Replacement spatula? How could anything ever replace? Hey, look at that!
Well, he got over that fast. He lays his eyes upon Lay's spatula and appears to be taking a liking to its design. However, he's still conflicted on whether or not he should actually buy it. But then he remembers the fake doctor's words.
I would give serious consideration to a replacement spatula.
I love how SpongeBob still heeds the guy's advice even after learning he isn't a real doctor. He finally decides to buy Lay's spatula, but he learns that it costs a fortune. So much so that not even his entire net worth is enough to cover it. However, the salesman turns it over to him in exchange for SpongeBob's clothes. And this is where things might be a little uncomfortable. SpongeBob spends the remainder of this episode butt-ass naked. Like, surely you couldn't have just kept him in his underwear, could you? Nah, instead I gotta sit through this whole middle finger to my pupils. He gets to work and shows off Lay's spatula to Mr. Krabs and Squidward. However, his hopes are dashed when it's time for him to actually start making Krabby Patties, and Lay's spatula keeps avoiding the grill.
Spat, is there something wrong, pal?
I would not dare touch such slop as this, how you say, Krabby Patty. I am designed for the utmost in culinary cuisine, no less!
You're a fucking spatula! Your main purpose is to flip beef on a grill. You're bound to get greasy at some point. What, you mean to tell me you can only be used for tuna tartare? But yeah, it turns out Lay spatulas actually get a bit of an attitude and begins insulting SpongeBob. The security system takes control of Lay's spatula! Oh wait, that's not right. Lay Spatula spouts legs, denigrates SpongeBob some more, and runs away never to be seen again. It's at this moment that SpongeBob decides he needs to go get Spat back. Back at the hospital, it looks like Spat isn't doing too hot, and ends up flatlining. Then the fake doctor comes to see him with some bad news.
I know. He's moved on to that big kitchen drawer in the sky. He's gone.
Actually, it's not that. I didn't get the acting part.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, by the way, that's not your spatula. Your buddy's all patched up in the infirmary.
So is the hospital just using him for free labor now? Jeez, the labor laws in Bikini Bottom really do suck. SpongeBob goes to see Spat, and Spat doesn't seem to be in a very forgiving mood. One thing I should probably mention is that this whole scene plays out like SpongeBob cheated on Spat or whatever. SpongeBob starts crying again, even harder than before, and they hold at it. In fact, this is the only thing they do to try to break up the pace.
All that glitters is not gold.
That explains the title card. So SpongeBob inchworms all the way to the Krusty Krab in the midst of his sobs, and is pleasantly surprised to see Spat flipping patties, purely autonomously. Good thing Mr. Krabs isn't seeing this, or else SpongeBob will get canned. You don't get to pay a spatula after all. So yeah, they reunite, and Squidward puts in another order for a Master Krabby Patty. I guess they're popular again now? SpongeBob tries to flip it, but instead his arms just break off his torso, which he laughs at. And that was all that glitters. Oh boy, this one, I'm rating it a 4 out of 10. It really is not at all very interesting. I appreciate how seriously they try to take such a ridiculous premise, but the execution is just bad. All it is just SpongeBob being taught a lesson he didn't need to learn. It would have worked better if the episode was a bit more lighthearted and didn't make SpongeBob out to be some asshole simply for wanting to do his job properly. Or hell, make it so that SpongeBob willingly tossed out Spat in favor of a spatula for the express intent of trying to look cool or rich or some shit. Instead, all I'm getting from this is that you should never replace anything even if it doesn't work anymore. Which, now that I think about it, explains why they decided to put this episode out. Thanks for watching. This is the Nihilistic Snake slithering out of here.